keeping well and you're keeping safe. How's your family? How is everyone all around you? How are your neighbors? How many people have you checked on today? I know there's social distancing, but there's something called a phone, technology. You can pick it up and you can talk to people and find out, how are you? I hope you've had something really nice to eat, something healthy. I'll tell you something really interesting about this lockdown. A number of people have started cooking healthy meals, unlike before, where we can order from every parts of restaurants and have all the junk food in the world. Not that all restaurants sell junk food, no, but it's a great opportunity to pick up the recipe book and start cooking healthy for the family. Even I have changed my recipe at home. You know I love cooking before, but now I've new recipes added on. So isn't that just great? I hope that your neighbors are fine and your family is doing great. It's good to be back on Sharing with Yemi. If you've joined us, please say hello, indicate, let me know that you're here. Today is our Business Thursday, and we're going to be talking money matters. We're going to be talking about your finances, my finances, our finances, how we're coping during this period, and perhaps how we need to get ourselves ready for when we get out of this, because this will pass and we will come out on the other side better. So today we're going to be conversing about our finances and an amazing woman who has done great work in empowering people all across the world in financial matters will be joining me on the show. You perhaps have seen the posters. I wanted to thank those who sent in their questions. You get a chance to ask your questions. And today you get a chance to call in and ask my guest a question. So if you have any questions, get them ready. You'll be asking my guest a question. So I will be waiting for one or two people to joining and say hello. Hi, I have people in here already. Great to see you all. Thank you so much. Alain Karem, thank you. Mike Garber, it's great to see you. Thank you so much for joining us. Adebola, thank you. Thank you all so much. I know. Tell me now. I hope we're great with sound. I always want to be sure that our technicals are top notch when we're on the show. So let me know if the sound is great at your end. If you can hear me, let me know. Give me a thumbs up or say something really nice, and we'll be ready to roll, right? Very good. So today, I want to formally welcome you to Sharing with Yemi, another episode. As our Thursday is for Money Matters, I have an amazing woman joining me on the show who, do you know what? Let me just tell you a little bit about her first before you meet her. And there's something really amazing about her. You know, I love when people smile. You guys are used to that by now. And that's why you always see me smiling. And perhaps one of my weaknesses is a smile. This woman's smile is super infectious, you know? So wait till you get to see her. But before you see her, I want to tell you about her. I won't tell you what she's known yet. You've seen the posters, so you should have researched her. She was born in Port Harcourt and she hails from Akikugbe in Rivers State of Nigeria, which interestingly is a place I grew up in. You know, when we were conversing, and I told her, do you know what? I grew up in Rivers State. I thought you could have been my big sister. This amazing woman is the founder and chief executive officer at Bestman Games Limited, the African distributors of customized editions of Monopoly, Hastrop's world famous games. I mean, if you're playing Monopoly in Nigeria, you should have an idea where they come from. And this woman is the reason why you have them in Nigeria. As a child, she lived in Lagos until she was 7, when her family moved to East Africa, where her father, her late father, Mr. Ajumogobia, was UNESCO Chief of Mission. She grew up in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, and attended the International School of Tanganyika, and later Limuru Girls' School, Kenya, before returning to Nigeria for O levels. She holds a bachelor's degree from the London School of Economics and an MBA from Lagos Business School, after which she formalized her interest in music by obtaining a piano teaching diploma from the Royal College of Music in London before returning to Nigeria to participate in the National Youth Service Corps. I mean, she loves music so much so that she had to go back to get a diploma. Now, talk about doing things proper and doing things right, right? This is one person who believes in doing things right. She enjoyed a distinguished banking career spanning over 2 decades. First at Stanbic IBT Bank PLC, where she was general manager and head private client services with responsibility for the bank's high net worth business, and a director of Stanbic IBT Asset Management Limited. She provides frank, practical insights to create a greater awareness and understanding of personal finance and wealth management issues with her brand, Money Matters with Nimi. So now I've said her name, and she speaks to thousands of people all across the globe. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me to welcome my guest today on Sharing with Yemi, Nimi Akikugbe. Nimi, you're welcome to Sharing with Yemi.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
So, guys, can you see her smile? You see what I mean about that smile? It's super infectious. It's the first thing that hits you when you see this woman. You know, oh my goodness. Do people tell you that? Do people tell you that your smile is infectious?
I hear that sometimes.
Oh.
Now you're making me shy.
Oh, I, you know, the last thing you can be is shy. Welcome to Sharing with Yemi. Finally,
thank you. It's great to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Thanks goodness. I have to say, thanks goodness for the isolation and the locking. This lady you're seeing here is so super busy. It can be a bit of a challenge, not even a bit of a challenge. It can be so difficult to get her when you really want to try to have and grab her. But work, my goodness. So maybe it's for my benefit that we are in the lockdown and I finally have you on Sharing with Yemi. Welcome. My audience, they're excited and they've been waiting eagerly to meet you. So before we dive into the money matters, I want them to know who you are and how you got where you are today. So tell us really and truly, where did the passion for empowering people about finances come from? I mean, we've read your resume. You're a Pan-African woman, and you're a powerhouse of financial empowerment and financial impact. Where did that drive to impact people financially come from?
I think it stemmed from my banking career, actually. Just as you said, I spent 21 years with Stanbic IBTC, and then I moved on to Barclays Bank, where I was a regional director for West Africa for the Wealth and Investment Management Division. And during the course of that period, I noticed the way people behave with money. I dealt with some very wealthy families, and I also saw some who managed wealth very well and brought up children who were not entitled, which is a real challenge. One of the disadvantages of wealth is that you run the risk of spoiling your children, and you then find that one generation creates wealth, the other generation spends it, and thereafter a whole fortune can literally be dissipated. And we started involving our clients' children in financial literacy. We brought them into the bank to play games. So that was my first time I thought, oh, gaming is a very powerful way of teaching anything, really. So we played games with some of these children so that they began to understand the importance of saving and investing. Unfortunately, the financial literacy isn't in the school curriculum. So people grow up without any real knowledge of one of the most important skills you need in your life. And that was the first time I thought, oh, I think a board game would be a really interesting thing. And then just sheer coincidence, a school in the UK where my children were attending, launched their own edition of Monopoly. And I just thought, wow, I don't know, I'm sure most of your audience would have known the London edition with Mayfair, Park Lane.
Yes. I remember that one so well.
So I approached the company and said, well, if you can do Harrow School Monopoly, then why can't you do Lagos? So
Wow.
it took 2 years with a business plan. I was still with Barclays at the time. So conflict of interest, I could not be doing this on my own. So I had a consulting firm helping set up the business. You know, you do the business plan of your life,
Yes.
projections, marketing plan, all that, and then presented it to them. And then in September 2012, they gave us the license to do customized editions of Monopoly for Africa. Because
Wow.
most African children grew up knowing Old Kent Road and Mayfair and Park Lane, and why can't we get to know our own cities, our own streets, our own landmarks, our own culture, history? So it was such an exciting thing. I went to the Lagos State government in September, and by December, we launched the first ever African edition of Monopoly in 2012. That was our first edition. And it's just been so exciting because our children are now knowing more about our own cities. We've done Accra, we've done Calabar, we'll do Kigali, we'll do Nairobi. We're looking for partners all across the continent to do editions of Monopoly that are customized for African cities to showcase the beauty of our continent.
So you basically have the franchise for that?
Yes, I have the rights to create African editions through Hasbro. They're all manufactured by Hasbro. Hasbro owns the Monopoly brand, but we have got the distribution rights for the African continent. So we can create African Monopoly games.
Just incredible. I mean, here I can see some of the editions that you have created.
Yes, we've done Accra is fabulous. We've done, well, the only African editions are outside Nigeria. We've done Nigerian City, we've done a Nigeria edition. Lagos is great. And then 2 years ago, we did a Lagos electronic banking edition. So there's no cash.
Oh.
You play the game and you buy properties and hotels with the POS built in the game and debit cards. So it's just teaching, you're playing the game, but you're learning at the same time. So it's just great. Yeah.
So you're learning so much. You're learning money management.
You're learning money management.
How to invest.
Yes, paying your deposit. And then, of course, the environment. Hasbro has allowed us to customize. So you can, many of the rules of the state are infused. So for attempting to bribe a police officer, go directly to Kirikiri jail. So Kirikiri jail is a notorious jail in Lagos. So.
Okay, so I've got an audience here who is saying, yeah. I've got somebody here who's saying, perhaps we will do the Cameroon version. Yeah.
Love to. If you can help me translate into French, yes, of course.
Oh, there you go. So, I mean, this is a lady from Cameroon. She's saying, I don't know if you see the message there. She said, oh, yes, maybe we can do the Cameroon version.
We have to. We believe in collaboration. One of the greatest things about entrepreneurship is being able to collaborate with other people. So in Ghana, we had
Okay, we're being disconnected from the network, but I'm sure we'll have you back in a few. Very good. I can hear you now. Go ahead. You were talking about what you had in Ghana. Hello, are you still there? Okay, we'll have Nimi back in a short while. Network is been a bit tricky here. We'll try and have her back in a short while, but I will ask you to start getting your questions ready. When she comes back, we're going to delve into questions about financials, how you can work around this challenging times, this challenging COVID-19 times. If you've been thinking up a business idea and you're not sure if this is the right time to start your business, well, we'll have a chat about that as well. If perhaps you're struggling with finances and you're not sure how you're going to manage with your business, especially if you own a business, you're not sure how you're going to manage when all of this is over, we'll be chatting about that as well. So get your questions ready, and I would love comments from you while we try to reconnect Nimi there. Let me take some of your comments, those who we already have joining us today. Olayinka, it's great to have you with us. Thank you so much for joining us again today. You're a regular. I really appreciate your time. All the time, you're always here. Thank you so much. Condi Faith, all the way from France. Thank you for joining us. It's great to have you from France. Garba Mike, good afternoon, sir. A pleasure, or should I say good evening? A pleasure to have you with us today. Faith says, sound is great. Yes, thank you for that awesome feedback. Sound is great. Thank you so, so much. Is it advisable to take a loan at this time? Okay, that's a question from Adebola. We'll wait until we have Nimi back, and then we'll take questions if it's advisable to take a loan at this time. So don't worry, I've got you covered. I've got your question. I've got Owolabi Ogunjimi here. Thank you for joining us. Owolabi Ogunjimi is connected with us all the way from the States. Thank you. It's great to have you with us today, and I hope the sound is great and clear with you. We've got Nimi back, and let's hope that this time the network allows us. I mean, it's understandable right now in the world.
Why does technology fail you at the worst possible time?
I know, right? I know. Do you know what? I really have gotten used to it, and I know why. I have asked the questions, and I know why. Everybody is online now. Everybody is online. So you have this situation where you, especially in the evenings, you have a number of people all online at the same time.
But the factories aren't there now. So why would it be taking in this much? I don't know. It's just
Well, I'll tell you something. You know, usually people wouldn't be connected all at the same time. How many people would have been on Zoom previously? You know, right, yeah. Not too many people would have been on Zoom, but a lot of people now do business on Zoom, have meetings, team meetings on Zoom.
That's right.
Yes, yeah. Right. So it's all
forgive me, everyone. God, goodness knows.
No, it's not you. It's not you. With people joining us already, I was saying that we have Owolabi Ogunjimi joining us from the States. We have Condi joining us from France. Thank you for joining us. It's great to have you all here today. We've got people joining us from Ireland as well. Toluwani is joining us from Ireland, Kilkenny. She says, excellent. And yes, so we already have questions coming in, but a few people had sent in their questions prior to the live show starting. I suppose we'll start with those, and then we can take on questions from people who are sending their questions live to us. So we will talk personal business finances and business finances. So I guess we'll probably start with the business finances and take some of the questions that have been sent in previously. So we have a question here. What are some of the biggest mistakes businesses make that could get them in even greater jeopardy, especially at a time like this?
Well, I think one of the biggest mistakes one would make is one that you would already have made before now, actually, not having had a plan for an emergency. I mean, we should all have in place a business continuity plan or an emergency plan that should have been put in place before now, so that if anything goes wrong and suddenly your operations are disrupted, you at least have some idea of where you should be going. Nobody and nothing could have prepared any of us for where we are now. But
not at least all.
If you had something, I mean, this includes from fire drills to backing up your material to having a crisis team in place, so that if anything happens, they're ready. They're already in place to. So that's one. And even if you didn't do that this time, this is the time. Make sure you have that going forward. Another important thing is communication. I think that is critical, because imagine how nervous you are as a leader. Your team, you've got to ensure that there's empathy. You're communicating. You've put something in place quickly. Remote working. A lot of people are just waiting for something to happen. So not having a plan makes you just wait. And we have no idea how long we're going to be in this situation for. So this could be business as usual for a little while. Wow. So a huge mistake is to be thinking, oh, it'll blow over, something's going to happen and we'll all be back at work. Even if we're back at work, we don't know if we're going to be back at work in the same way we were before. That's another huge mistake. And as the leader, I think communication is probably the most critical thing. Calling your staff individually, seeing how they are both mentally and physically, are they okay? And also having those team meetings. So a mistake would be not to quickly connect the team. So you need to have some software or something. I'm still experimenting with different tools that are great in terms of being able to see what people are doing. If you have to have had, even before this, you should have had measurable deliverables, KPIs. Otherwise, everyone is working from all over the city. How do you know what everyone's doing? What's happening? You know, some of the mistakes people make in terms of just wishing the problem away and just inaction is probably the biggest killer of all. But what we should be doing is trying to plan, brainstorming. What are the strengths? You need a critical SWOT analysis right now, because some of the things you were doing before are just not going to work anymore. So what can you do? There's life after COVID. So what do you put in place now, both in your personal life and in your business life, so that you can survive this terrible situation, and also live to seize the incredible opportunities that there are going to be as well?
A lot of people, I mean, that's just incredible, because a lot of people have only focused on the negative that is coming out of this. People don't see the opportunities. You mentioned opportunities there. People don't see the opportunities yet. People don't see that there are advantages to all of this. I mean, as difficult and challenging a time as it is, there are still opportunities in all of this. So people don't see that yet. What are one or two things that business people, entrepreneurs, can see as an opportunity in this?
I mean, I'll give you an example of a friend of mine that I called a few days ago who was in total despair. Now, he's an incredibly talented person, but he's just sitting, he's shut his office, he's not doing anything, and he's just waiting. He has 40 staff, 40 members of staff. Now, that is 40 families who are depending on him, you know. Now, I said to him, but you should be telling everyone about all your stuff online. What's happened to your website, your social media? You're so skilled. This is the time where we all get on to Zoom or another platform and start teaching people. After a while, people will pay for those services to be able to listen to you and the incredible value you have to give to the world. You know, so digital, we have to, I mean, you won't believe it. I was called by Lagos Business School to give a webinar. And I said, I've attended webinars, but I've never hosted a webinar. So I was horrified and I said, no. And then I spoke to my daughter. She said, you said no? Will you go online and learn immediately? So I went online, put myself on a 15-minute course. I couldn't believe how easy it was. And there I was, and we had a wonderful time. And so now I have a whole list of people inviting me to speak in webinars. After a while, you find there are other ways of earning a living in a time like this, you see. So the opportunities are incredible. Number one is to embrace digital. You cannot survive without it. So if you've been sitting on the fence, of course, for the young people, the millennials, they're so lucky. You grasp it so quickly. But for people like me, it's difficult to learn these new ways of working and for it to become part of you. You have to be very deliberate about going all out there. And what the greatest advantage is, the world is your oyster. I mean, you literally have the whole world as your market, which you didn't have before if you were so closed in this city and so on. So it's about embracing that. On the personal side, every time, every season in the world, you had, during a great recession or a depression, people made fortunes. How come? Because they seized opportunities. So the stock markets have really fallen all over the world. If you had been planning your personal finances, then you will be able to pick up some incredible stocks at ridiculous prices. There are people selling property right now, way, way below their real market value. So these are some of the opportunities that one can find. Some businesses that are really interesting but because of the current situation, the owners are looking for investors that they wouldn't ordinarily have invited. So that it's about keeping a lookout. But I always say opportunity favors the prepared. It's not an original quote,
Yeah.
but it is so true. If you're prepared, you are in a better position to seize some of these great opportunities. And even if you're not prepared right now, don't let this happen to you again. We will have another crisis down the line. So it's about getting prepared, having yourself a solid foundation in your business and your personal finances to ensure that you can take advantage of some of the opportunities that present.
Very good. Thank you so much. I mean, I suppose in a way you've answered a question that came in there from our Cameroonian Joanna. She'd asked, what do you advise about Forex trading at this time? And you talked about investing at this time.
That's right. Yes, I'm a pretty conservative investor, so I'm not good at Forex trading. Whatever you're doing, make sure you understand what you're doing. I use foreign exchange as a way of diversifying. So I want to make sure I don't have all my money in one currency, all my assets in one country. But Forex trading is a high risk skill. So you do need to know what you're doing. So a lot of people are saying, oh, do Forex trading, and they get completely burnt. If something sounds too good to be
okay.
so
Very careful. Have you there. If something sounds too good to be true, it probably is too good to be true.
Yes.
And I loved what you said there about opportunity, that opportunity favors the prepared. So you must be prepared.
Yes,
and they talk about success, that success is when preparedness meets opportunity. That's success.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. We'll take a question here from Ogunjimi, who is sent his question in from the US. He says, what kind of business can I set up for someone who doesn't have any business experience? Is there any business idea I might be able to take an opportunity of now?
Oh, that's very difficult to say because, everybody is different. You have your own unique skills. You have your own unique talents that you can bring to bear. I always find that, the best place to start is look inward and find out what it is that comes naturally to you. I really do believe that every one of us has a God-given talent. Many of us do not exploit that talent and do not try to leverage on it. So what is it that you are good at, Ogunjimi? Find out what is it. I mean, what is it that people say, wow, you're brilliant at this? Are you a brilliant photographer? Are you a brilliant writer? Are you fantastic at IT? What is it that you can do and you can leverage on? So that's a good place to start. Being a business person is not for everyone. The whole world is sort of making it look like if you're a corporate person, something is wrong. You need to be in business and you've got to be an entrepreneur. Very scary, because being an entrepreneur, as I've realized, is one of the most difficult things I've ever done. So you had better love what you do. So I absolutely love what I do. So that's what keeps me going, even though right now I have no clue how I'm going to keep paying salaries for X number of months if something doesn't change. But whereas if you were in a major company, well, even major companies now are probably, many of them have a timeline.
Yes.
After which, how many staff can you keep paying, and how long does this go on for? But before you think of a business, you need to look at your strengths. Your strengths might be your intellect, but somebody's got to be the business person. So are you going to partner with someone else who's the business person, who can do the sales, who can do the marketing? You've got to really understand your skills before you do that. And if you're already in a corporate situation, don't step off that treadmill until you are sure. If you're earning already, because I just heard in America, for example, 6.5 million more people registered for unemployment. I mean, so for those in a full-time job, this is not the right time to jump unless you have a very concrete plan that can sustain you if you decide to go into business full-time.
Thank you so much. I mean, the comments and the questions are just flying in, and I'm going to go to one that relates to just something you'd mentioned there. There's a question that says, let me quickly go back up. comments have pushed that back. Let me find that here now. It's an interesting one that I think you might like yourself. Is it advisable to take a loan at this time? That's a question from Debola. Is it advisable to take a loan at this time?
Yes, she didn't specify whether it's a personal loan or a business loan.
If okay, no, it's not specified.
Okay, but I'll just talk about both. If your business has been doing well, but there's just a short-term cash flow liquidity problem that can be addressed with borrowing at a decent interest rate, because if then of course it's worth considering. Same thing with you, but borrowing. It's really about your capacity to repay.
It's about your capacity to repay.
Yes. Are you already in debt? Are you going to increase your debt? How are you going to pay it back? Can you do without borrowing? Can you first consider cutting back on your expenses and saving? I mean, we're all saving money on transport costs now. Today, I've cancelled my subscription for Wi-Fi in the office. I've stopped buying diesel in the office. We're no longer paying for the DSTV, the cable network. So there's quite a saving there. So you need to look at all those issues that all those expenses that you've been doing, and at home as well. This is a time for you to cut back with your personal expenses and your business expenses. Having looked at all that, if you still need to borrow to survive, just be very careful and ensure that you can actually pay back. Of course, your credibility all this time is what will make it possible for you to borrow. If you've been known for not paying back, or if your credit rating is really lousy, then you're going to have difficulty borrowing at a decent
rate. At all
or at a decent rate, exactly. So yes, it's hard to say don't borrow, but what are you borrowing for? That's another thing. If you're borrowing for your business for a good reason, or you can't go on holiday now, so there's no point saying don't borrow to go on. Even if you were given a free ticket to go on holiday, you're going to refuse.
Well, you have the holiday in your back garden.
Exactly.
You mentioned savings there earlier on, and you talked about some of the bits that you've saved yourself. And that's quite interesting, because some people don't even have a savings culture. Some people have this way of spending and believing that there's still money for tomorrow. I'll make another one, and I'll make another one in readiness for the next day. So there's a question here about savings for young people. And it says, what's the best way to support my 9-year-old in building a savings culture? I mean, my question would be, as the parent, do you even have a savings culture yourself?
But that's fantastic if you can save for your children early. One of the best ways, I mean, I set up mutual fund accounts for my children from the time they were born. They can't take ownership of the account themselves until they're adults, from 18. But you can set up an account, and it's a joint account with a parent. I find mutual funds are just a great way of saving. It's so interesting, but at times like this, it's sad that people dump their shares. But this is great for those who want to save for children or start investing now, is because you can pick up some of these assets at very good prices. So your 9-year-old should have a savings account, an interest-bearing savings account. But how much is she spending? As opposed to buying toys and gadgets for your children, also give them monetary, financial gifts. It's a fantastic way of giving. It's almost like a gift that keeps giving. So for her birthday, Christmas, or if they do well, it's a great time. Or if grandparents or godparents ask what they can give your child, mutual fund is a great one. Good. And also, because you may not have the expertise or the time to pick stocks yourself, the great thing about a fund is that they're professionally managed. People are looking at exactly what's going into the portfolio, and you get regular reporting. You can also check the fund, online. So I did that for my children. They're all adults now, and now they get it and they understand, and on their own they've built that culture. So they save on their own. If you start that culture very young, it's a fantastic gift to give your children, and they begin to understand the value of investing. So they'll say, wow, I just got a dividend from this company, and they understand what it means to save for the long term and invest for the long term. Yeah.
Fantastic. Very good. Thank you. We'll take another question here. One of the questions that have been sent in previously. We still have questions coming in live, but I'll go back to the questions that have been sent in previously. How do you convert a face-to-face business to a non-face-to-face business?
Okay, well, I'm the guinea pig right now. So I was so worried about the virus, and many of my team members were coming from very, long distances from Lagos, all over Lagos, spending 5 hours a day in traffic, 3 hours coming to work, 3 hours, ridiculous. So we just decided about 2 weeks ago, before the government actually locked us all in, to work remotely. The first thing is communication. So everyone understands what that means about working remotely. You're not on holiday, you're actually working.
You get up, you dress up, you get ready for work.
Yes. And then putting the tools in place. That was so important. Does everyone have Wi-Fi at home? Does everyone have power? Some parts of our continent and our cities don't have power. So do they have electricity to actually be able to log on? You need to pick the right team tool that will work, that you can connect easily. Assuming you've already had clear deliverables, it matters more than ever to have had clear deliverables, KPIs, so everyone wakes up in the morning actually knowing what they're doing that day. And then as a team leader, I've found checking in with your team. We do have team meetings on a Monday morning and on a Wednesday, halfway through the week as well. We meet again just to see how everyone is doing. The first meeting, nobody put on their camera.
Because everybody's still in bed.
Because nobody wants to see where they are. So I did. I'm not going to have that. So I said, okay, Monday meeting, we have to see each other's faces. On the Wednesday, you can dial in from the shower if you want to.
Yeah.
I mean, and then another thing was one-on-ones, calling. Just seeing how everyone is, calling in regularly. I didn't realize that people can get. I'm sort of a bit of a recluse, believe it or not. So I love being in my house. But some people
hard to believe that.
I love being in my house and garden. So I'll have to be taken out kicking and screaming when they ask us to come out. So but for some people it's really traumatic just being locked away in their homes. So it's just about checking on your team. And on the employee side, I think it's so important to create a space. You need to create a workspace that you go to like you're going to your office, okay? A decent chair and a desk and just somewhere you can go to every day. I think it's really important to have a schedule and schedule breaks as well. I'm having way too many breaks to the fridge. I mean, I went on the scale today and it is a total disaster. So I don't even know what I'm going to do when I come out of here. Just eating all day. It's really serious, really serious.
I have a number of people have shared that as well, and they're worried as well.
Exercise routine, responsiveness. I mean, I've told my team really that, where this is a great test because we may never go back to full-time work, face-to-face work. I'm very happy to continue like this. We can if people can come to the office twice a week or 3 times a week, depending. And of course, even when things are more secure, it may take a long time for the virus to be completely eradicated, which means you will have to still, invest in an environment that allows you to have social distancing, even in the office. Most offices are quite small for a small business. So it's very difficult for you to all be in the same room, which means some people will still have to be working remotely. So responsiveness, being proactive. This is a time where employees can really shine. So you can identify some incredible leaders in your team that you didn't know existed before, because in the office everybody was overwhelmed. But now you can actually find people that can really do very, very well, and it's good to praise and encourage and that sort of thing. I find it's important to dress up. The days when I sort of loaf around in my pajamas and think I'm working, it's not the same as if I actually get up and get dressed and do like I'm going to work, just step into another room. So those are some of the things that I've found in this 2-3 weeks that we've been doing this, and it's working. It's working quite well. It needs a lot of communication. Otherwise, you sort of find you're not as focused as you should be. But I find I'm more productive in this in this time. Yes.
Absolutely. And we've got plenty of time on our hands to do the things that we've always wanted to do.
Oh, that is the best.
Get the chance to do.
Tidying up your house and
Oh goodness, the fridge part. Oh Lord,
fridge.
A lot of people are still struggling with that.
So what's the solution?
Well, maybe stock your fridge with a lot of veggies and fruits and perhaps things you don't really like rather than the things we like. Then that way we go to the fridge a little less.
I've got hundreds of packets of crisps.
No way. Oh, goodness. Okay, so we'll take a question here from Phoebe, and it's actually a comment. Phoebe said, I had a savings joint account. So it's kind of referring to what you talked about earlier on about savings. I had a savings joint account with my mom, but the moment I turned 18 and got legal, I blew it in the first few months.
Oh, no.
But that was my lesson because I did not get upkeep for a while. So parents playing a practical role is key. Very.
Oh, yes. Yes, absolutely. That's an amazing story. Another thing would be maybe a savings account wasn't really the right tool for an investment that was being done for many years. That should have been fixed. It shouldn't either in bonds or it could have been in the stock market in a mutual fund. But a savings account would have earned such a low return for a start, and then it also didn't really wouldn't have given a return. And of course, she had easy access to it as soon as she became 18. So that also made her finish the money. If she didn't have a way of just getting that money immediately, that would have been a good idea as well.
Okay, so I want to understand this properly. So you are saying that if it's a long-term savings, it shouldn't be in a savings account?
No, if the child is not touching it at all, then there's no reason for it to be in a savings account. Savings account is for short-term needs.
So what kind of account should it be in?
I put my children's money in equity funds from the time they were born because they didn't need the money for 5-10 years. So even if there was a stock market crash, they would ride it. The stock market is volatile, it goes up and down, but for the long term, it tends to outperform other asset classes. So of course, they had pocket money and they had a savings account. But for the spending they did. But if they had any bulk money or as it was growing, it was fixed. So
there you have it, people. Equity fund instead of a savings if you're saving long term.
Mutual funds. But the key is before you invest for anyone, you need to speak to a professional advisor. They look at your own situation. It's only after they've looked at your risk tolerance, how much money you have, what your obligations are, what you're saving and what you're investing for, that they will now determine what type of investment you should have. So I won't say you should just go off there and have an investment in the stock market, no. But for a child who didn't need the money at all, and her mother was not spending it as many mums do, then it's a perfect investment to lock it away so that she doesn't have easy access to it. So the minute she opened the savings at 18, it was all gone.
Very good. And I really strongly agree with the fact that we should all begin to, for those who haven't started at all, start putting a little something aside for your children and teach them a savings culture. Like in my house, my kids have what we call in Nigeria the kolo. It's like the little savings, the piggy banks.
Yes.
The piggy banks. So they put their monies in there themselves. And when they have a bit of lump sum, then we go put it away in the bank. And they know what we're putting away in the bank, So they have that sense of saving. Right. Yes, they keep track. They have that sense of saving.
Yes.
And they get so excited. Oh my God, I'm so rich. I'm like, really?
Yes. And there are savings bonds for children with decent interest rates. But you can't break it as easily as if it was in a savings account where there's no notice, So it's just important that it's accessible, but that they can use their ATM card to take the money out so easily. And some is for their day-to-day spending, but another part should be an account that is maybe not tied to a debit card, so that it's actually being saved. Okay.
Very good. If you're just joining us, this is Sharing with Yemi, and today is our Money Thursday, our Business Thursday. And my guest is the awesome Nimi Akikugbe, who is a Pan-African finance guru. And she empowers people to manage their finances and actually create wealth. So I would say for the few minutes that we have left, make the best of it. Send in your questions. All those who have sent in questions, we've been trying our best as possible to take as many questions. So, and I hope that your questions have been answered satisfactorily. Condi from France here says, Yemi Adenuga, vegetables in the fridge, seriously? Things we don't like, seriously? I can literally just see her face when she's asking that question. But the idea, listen, Faith, the idea is to keep you away from the fridge. So if you stock it with stuff you like, then
you'll be miserable. You'll be miserable.
You were saying that you have loads and loads of crisps packs at home. So you keep opening that.
In the 11 at night, I can't help it. I go downstairs like an armed robber, and I open the fridge, and then I have a it's just, I don't even know what I'm going to do.
Well, first of all, the veggies, if you don't like them,
and my trainer was the first.
So we'll take some more questions. Let's take some personal finance questions now. There's a question here. At this time, so many people are worried about their personal finances. What would you suggest they can do at this time?
Well, I think one of the important, it's so boring, I know, but a budget. Even if you didn't have a budget before, you need one now. You need to know where is your money coming from? Where is it going? You've got to, I always tell people to sort of track your expenses. This period of lockdown has made us all realize things that we were spending money on that we actually don't need. Isn't it quite interesting what you're seeing now, things you spent so much on, and suddenly they seem important. So you've got to look at, this is about wants versus needs now. What are the priorities? Have a budget. It helps to see what things you can we should all cut back. On our website, mathswithnimi.com, there's a sample budget template. It's just literally an Excel spreadsheet. It has a list of everything, and it's worth going through that and just seeing what you can cut back on and see where your money is going. So budgeting is one, cutting back on your expenses. I find insurance is such.
Okay, we're having a network.
Home, for their car.
Yeah. Okay, we'll see if we can try and get that back. The network is acting up again. Let's see if we can. Wherever you are, this is Sharing with Yemi, and yes, we're still live.
Okay.
You can hear me. Yes, we can hear you now. We can hear you properly now. Yes.
All right. Yes, I talked about making sure that you're on a budget and you're cutting back as well, so that you can actually start to set some money aside. Every one of us needs to have an emergency fund. So if you didn't have one before now, you really must make that the first thing you do. And we talk about, say, 6 months at least of your expenses set aside, so that in an emergency like this, you're not forced to go into debt, or you're not forced to sell assets. You just have some money as a cushion. Insurance, I was talking about before we got cut off. To protect the assets that you already have. The worst thing that can happen now is something happens to your car or your house, so just make sure you have the right insurance. And of course, the most important asset that you have is you. You are your greatest asset. Are you insured? Do you have health insurance? If you're in a country where there's free medical care, I'm just totally amazed by the National Health Service in England. Just extraordinary, brilliant. In many situations, you've got to pay for your medical care privately. Do you have insurance to cover that for your family, for your parents, or for loved ones that may not be insured themselves. So take all those things really seriously to ensure that if something did happen, you do have that protection.
And that you're covered.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Very good. We'll take a few questions coming in live here now. Before
another thing about insurance, some of the life insurance policies cover unemployment. You know, it's sad to consider it, but many thousands of people will lose their jobs. There are policies where, you know, you take a policy out, so if you lost your job, at least you'll be paid something a few months whilst you look for another job. If you're the primary breadwinner in your family and you lose your job, your children's school fees is at stake, the family livelihood. So take that very seriously at a time like this to ensure that you do have adequate insurance to cover you and your family.
People do not see the importance of insurance, really and truly.
Until a shocking thing.
Absolutely, until something happens.
Yes.
That's when we wish we'd had it in place.
Yes. Don't wait. Make it a fundamental part of your financial plan, both for yourself and for your business.
Very good. There's a question here. It says, I keep cash at home every month. I try to add more cash to eat, then leaving too much cash at the bank. Leaving too much cash at the bank.
Give me your address. Give me your address so I can come and rob you. No, it's just not a good idea.
Everybody wants your address at this rate. So is it a good idea to keep cash in the house?
I think it's always useful to have some cash. So for example, at a time like this now where, you know, you can't go anywhere, but even if you do, you can just go to the ATM and then you find the ATM machine is not working or there's no cash in it and you have a bit of an emergency, you need to buy something, just a little bit of cash, not much. I think it's dangerous to have cash.
I think she saves at home. She saves all her money at home.
Yes, I mean, not saving. No, not saving.
Yeah, saving. I remember my stepmom when she died, when she passed, and we went to her room and we lifted up her mattress, which you wouldn't believe half her mattress was actually money stuffed in all the while. Unfortunately, the country had changed the currency at the time, so the money was.
Oh no!
We couldn't believe it. My brother he was lamenting, like, what in God's name?
And there was you couldn't go to the central bank and it was too late. It was many years before.
Many years after. So I've got a question from Evelyn. And Evelyn is asking, is it wise to invest in properties now? For example, in a place like Nigeria, is it wise to invest in property?
I think property is one of the best, the greatest investment classes to invest in. About location, as they always say. But look for the right opportunities. Property, people have also lost huge amounts of money in property by buying from the wrong developer or buying in the wrong area or misreading the market and so on. But it's one of the opportunities that I talked about earlier. Asset prices have taken a tumble. Property is no different. So there are definitely opportunities, but you've got to be very careful. The correct title, you know, how many years running for the lease. You've got to look at all those things. And I think, you know, you need to seek professional advice before you do that. It's usually a huge outlay. So at a time where, you know, one is a bit nervous about the uncertainty, you've got to determine that you can actually afford to set aside such a huge amount for an investment in property. And of course, for mortgages, you need to be careful about that as well, especially in a place like Nigeria where interest rates are double digit. So can you afford to service that debt, your mortgage interest every month? But absolutely, if you've got the liquidity, it's a great time to start looking at investment opportunities in property, in stocks, in business. You know, just it's a good time to look at such things. Yes. Very good. You talked about your website earlier on. Can you give us that website again so people can go visit when we're done on the show? Absolutely. It's moneymatterswithnimi.com. On Twitter and Instagram, we're on with Nimi, and we post information about your finances every single day of the week. Very good. So what we'll do as well is when we're finished, we will post that link
on this thread of the show, and then people can go. Somebody wants to know, is there a digital version of the Lagos Monopoly that they can download from an app store?
Unfortunately not. It's a Hasbro game. We don't have the digital rights. They've already given the rights for all their digital games to another major company.
So where can people get the Monopoly then? Like a Lagos Monopoly or an
Lagos Monopoly in Nigeria, it's in all the stores. If you visit our website, the stock list of stockists, that's the Best Man Games, Best Man, as in the best man at the wedding, bestmangames.com. There's a list of all the stockists there.
So this is my question. Yeah. How can we have a Dublin game?
What game?
A Monopoly. An Irish game with the Dublin Irish cities.
Oh no, there's a company. It must exist already. There's a company.
Oh, really?
I'll give you that. The company that we got the franchise from, they have the whole of Europe. So there's certainly an Edinburgh. I know there's an Edinburgh edition. There must be a Dublin edition.
Oh, I certainly will have to look out for that now.
Oh yes. I'll give you the company's name is Winning Moves. Winning Moves.
Winning Moves. Very good.
So they should have that. There must be. All the cities have. Yes.
Fantastic.
They're great. Yes, that's right.
Fantastic. If you're watching us wherever you're watching from, this is Sharing with Yemi, and my guest is Nimi Akikugbe, and we're discussing money matters. And of course, it's money matters with Nimi. We're coming close enough to our wrap up today, but perhaps I'll take one or two more questions. Let's look at a personal finance question here. Is this okay? This we talked about investment previously. You wanted to mention something there, did you?
I just saw one question about someone talking about job losses. That's an important one. Maybe you should quickly talk about that.
Okay, so let me look for that. Yes, if you've seen it, yes, I would say go ahead.
Okay, it's an important. It's very, very difficult. That's one of the most difficult life events for anyone to go through, job loss. But you need to also look at it as an opportunity, because sometimes it is that job loss that propels you into something incredible, if only you don't see it as a failure. So just think that thousands of people are having to be let go of, simply not because they weren't good at what they do, but simply because a company can no longer afford to pay because there's been no income coming in at this time. So again, as I spoke to someone earlier, look inwards and think of what skills you have, what would you do for free? What are those talents that you can translate? What can you do now to start to put in place in case you lose your job? We've all got to be in that situation. No, there's no guarantees of jobs anymore. So it's putting something in place. This is also why the emergency fund is so critical, because if you lose your job, you need to have some money to tide you over for a few months whilst you figure things out. So just wanted to say that a bit about job loss. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I wish we could just go on and on. I wish we could go on and people would still have loads of questions, but we're coming close to the end of the show. And I want to really say a massive thank you for your time. I can't believe I have you sitting with me for an hour.
I really enjoyed being here.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. And one last word for people, just people who are sitting there, first of all, happy that they've had the questions answered, and maybe just wondering, okay, so how do I begin to plan in preparation for when all of this is over? One last word of encouragement and motivation for them.
Okay, so just looking at this time, I just find this is such an incredible time. None of us have experienced anything like this before. Don't miss this opportunity. So see this is one of those crises that you cannot afford to waste. Don't waste this time. So use this time to invest in yourself, invest in your relationships, invest in your family. I've found we've just never had this time. You said at the beginning of the show, don't WhatsApp, pick up the phone and call someone, build relationships, call your clients, call your family members. Study, go online, take a course. Maybe before you finish this period, you've improved yourself, build on yourself. You know, you might lose money, you might lose business, you might lose your job. The one thing you can't lose is knowledge. So use this time to invest in yourself, and best of luck to everyone. Stay safe. Don't forget to wash your hands.
Wash your hands, sing happy birthday twice, and make sure that it's properly done. Thank you so much. I mean, as you were talking about just getting knowledge there, I just want to encourage people. We're currently running MIB classes. These are the classes that I run. It's Motivate, Inspire, Build, the classes for personal development and business development. And we're running a few free classes now on Zoom. So we're pretty saturated, as it were, but we'll put a few calls out there. If you see any call and you're interested in any of the classes, make sure you book them on time before we have too full a class. Nimi said it. Get knowledge. This is the time to do just that. Thank you so much for being on Sharing with Yemi today.
Thank you. Thank you for
I pray that we all get through this quickly enough.
Thank you so much for having me. I've had a great time, and thanks to your wonderful audience.
Thank you. Keep safe, and God bless you. Talk to you soon. Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
I want to thank you all so much for being on Sharing with Yemi today. It's been an honor and a pleasure just being able to share financial ideas with you. And big thanks again to my guest today, the wonderful Nimi Akikugbe. So much has been said today. It's not enough to get knowledge. Another important thing is what you do with it. So all that you've heard today, what are you going to do with it? Replanning your financials. How do you strategize to ensure that you have budgets for everything that you do? Knowing where your money goes. Perhaps you're spending a little too much on certain things that shouldn't actually be priority. Helping your children build a culture of savings and helping them understand how important this is, not just for now, but even their future. And using the skills that you have, the talents that they're inbuilt in you already, using them at this time, seeing them as an opportunity to begin to build and get yourself ready for when all of this is over. I hope that all that you learned today will be practicable for you and you will actually take them and use them. And I look forward to hearing your success stories in a couple of weeks, months, and maybe even years. Thank you so much for being on the show today. Keep safe. Make sure that you look out for one another, call somebody, make sure they're doing great. God bless you all. And please, God, we all get out of this soon enough. Keep washing your hands. Take care and have a great evening. I'll see you all again tomorrow. Remember, tomorrow is our Fun Friday. I tell you, you better come prepared because we're going to chill and it's going to be exciting just as last Friday was. God bless you and have a great evening. Bye.